Welcome to another episode of
Inside the Message.
We're glad to be back with you.
I'm Rev René. This is Brother T. And we are so very grateful that you are joining us here today. Thanks for being with us. We're going to have a conversation about a message that Brother T delivered, and it premiered on Sunday, October 25th, which just happened to be my birthday. So thank you for giving a message on my birthday. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
It was a great message. It was called The Message in the Mirror. And one of the things that I appreciated about the message was that you were very clear on what you wanted to accomplish, and that there were two concepts or ideas. And the first one plays into an idea that I've often taught, which is that, you know what, we're in a binary system. You know how the old computer systems were all zeros and ones, and that's how they were programmed, through 0 and 1. Well, in a way, that's what we're in. We're in a binary system, and there are ever only two choices. And you told a really great story to illustrate that. And do you want to share what those two choices are?
Well, the two choices are really two different thought systems, you know, and one is the thought system of the ego, which is fear, and the other one is the thought system of the Holy Spirit, or it's actually the only real thought system, if you will, which is the thought system of love.
So in a way, it's like we're taking a test, and rather than A, B, C, D, E, and E might say all of the above, and what are your chances? Your chances are, 1 in 5, 20% of maybe getting the answer right. Well, in a binary system, we've got more like a true or false test that we're taking. So we're filling in the bubble, either true or false, and we have a 50% chance of getting it right. So we're either operating from the thought system of the ego or the thought system of the mind joined with God, with love, with all that is. And one of the things that I love about your conversation is that in that system, everything still correlates to the North Pole, the North Star, which is always love. So even if the answer is true, which is love, or the other option was false, but it's a cry for love. And describe what the difference between those are and how they show up in our experience of life.
Well, I mean, we're always pointing back to the same solution, if you will. There's only one problem, and there's only one solution. We have fallen into believing the construct of a game that we established is called the game of separation. And in that game, we are outside of the mind of God. We're outside of being joined in union even with each other. And we feel like we're private, separate individual selves. And so the body is really the manifestation of that idea, so that we can see ourselves as separate, and we take in the outside world through the body senses, right? And we believe private thoughts. But what we don't realize is that we are not in the body at all. The body is contained within the mind of the self. But the construct of that idea of separation is being manifested because we are so powerful as co-creators, as the extension of God, that we have pretending to play a game and said, what would it be like to be separate from God? And we made an agreement to pretend to play the game. And when we did, this experience sprang forth from that.
Okay, whoa, Nelly here. Whoa, Nelly. So you mean that the body is contained in the mind and not the mind in the body? I think that's a huge thing that you just said.
It is, and it's a little mind blowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you do it at night, you go to sleep, and you create a dimension that you exist in, and you have a body, and all those things are there. But when you wake up, you realize that you were dreaming. And where was the dream? The dream was within your mind. And you recognize that immediately, and you don't even question it. That makes perfect sense to you. You say, well, I was just dreaming. So if we're dreaming now, if we're still dreaming right now, if you're watching this, you're in an awakened state of mind, you could say, right? You're not asleep, but then again, you're always still dreaming. So in a dream, we can say, I think rationally and logically, yes, everything we're experiencing is contained within mind, right? It's just a movie playing out, a drama playing out in our mind. And that's happening right now. This is all a construct of mind. We're actually literally, just like when we're sleeping at night, projecting the body as ourselves into the dream, and we're seeing the dream as if we're a body. And we're doing it right now.
And you're saying then in your message that that everything that we experience in the dream is part of that binary proposition. We're either being the extension and expression of love, and as the extension and expression of love, we see love, and we even see that what we perceive as unloving then as a cry for love. So from that perspective then, rather than reacting by attacking or by judging, that we can respond to the cries for love with love.
Well, it's really, and it's a little difficult to kind of get our mind around, but I think one of the best examples of it is imagine being lucid when you're sleeping at night and you realize that you're dreaming. And so you're in a different state of mind now. You're in an awakened state of mind, but you're still within the dreamscape of the mind.
So it's a lucid dream.
It's a lucid dream, right?
Okay.
So when you become enlightened in this experience, you become lucid, and your higher self, your true self, the part of you that's never been asleep and never will be asleep, that is kind of cordoned off, it's like the mind is split, that self, we kind of begin to connect with it. It's almost like when we're dreaming and we're waking up in the morning, we're kind of in and out of the state of dream, and we can begin to realize that we're dreaming, and we kind of step out of it.
Okay.
So that higher self, that true self, that non-sleeping self, non-diluted, right, self, begins to inform our reality, our experience of what we believe to be our reality. And so we just connect with that mind, kind of like waking up, having a lucid experience, and we let that awakened self, which is not confused. I would like to say it's the mind of knowing, or the mind of certainty. We get connected with it, and we kind of let it drive the bus, so to speak. We let it make decisions. We let it inform our expression.
So in the message, you actually tell a story, and in the story, the individual as ourself we're relaxed. We're relaxing near a body of water, near a pool, and we're on the lounge chair, and we're kind of in the sleeping state. And in that sleeping state, we begin to hear loud noises and yelling, and then the splashing of water. We feel that. We're still in the dream state. And in that dream state, we might want to react with anger, with frustration, with judgment, even maybe attack. But in the story, you say when the person wakes up and they actually look, they actually see that the source of the noise and all of the commotion is that somebody is actually drowning. And so in that story, that's the cry for love. And it's only when we wake up, or we wake up enough such that we're in the lucidity of the dream, that we can see that what appears like attack or something that is unacceptable to us, then becomes,
Right.
oh, gee, like the bully is really crying for love. The
baby.
the
crying for
baby is crying for love.
Kicking and screaming on the floor, throwing a fit. But
Is really a cry for love.
And what it points to is that our perception of what our reality is can shift as soon as we come to ourselves and realize that our idea of what reality is isn't really what's happening.
Right.
So that's the paradigm shift.
So then the question, taking it even a step further, is how can I answer the cry for love? How can I be loving in the midst of what seems to be unloving? And I think it's a really relevant question. We are actually videoing this right now, 1 week prior to the 2020 presidential election day, right? And this will air tomorrow, so less than a week before. And I got to tell you, I read some of my Facebook feed today, and within like somebody posting something that seemed really sane and loving, there was all of this argument that just flared up, connected with the election. And I'm like, people who love each other, people who are friends, are like attacking each other in this feed. And I'm just like, wow, what an opportunity this week to just kind of wake up enough to be able to realize that we are in a dream state, even in this thing called an election.
Or to tell ourselves in truth, we don't really know this, it appears to be some reality, but we don't really know what's going on. I mean, we really have a very limited perspective. And that's the whole point of the teaching, is that we are deluded by our own thinking. And in a moment, the world outside can shift, and we realize that our perception of what's going on was completely made up. We can get other people to agree with our narrative, but that doesn't make it real. And we can't make things because it's what we want it to be. We can't make that our reality either. Right? That is the game of the ego. So really, the choice we're making or pointing to make is, even with love, we can think, I can be loving as a single separated self. But we can't really be loving because we don't know what love is. So we're just pretending, or we're doing our best within our own idea of what love is. But when we join with the Holy Spirit, which is nothing more than our true self, our right mind, then we are love. And there's no pretending, there's no trying to figure out how to be it. We are just it. We're just being love. And there's nothing to do except to allow it to be expressed through us. Nice. And there's no judgment in it. Right. So we don't care see, that's the interesting thing about enlightenment. You don't care about what's going on in the world.
Well, I see that always. We're not disturbed by what's going
my point is, your peace is not disturbed. Right. You know that everything is unfolding as it always is. We don't have to
there's care, but there's not, but it doesn't disturb
there's
our
love
peace.
And compassion, but it's not what the ego's idea of love is.
We realize that a lot of things that we believe matter really don't.
We realize that almost everything we think matters doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's not us, it's not the single separated self that's coming to that conclusion.
Right.
The single separated self still cares and does, but it's just moving back now.
Yeah, and letting that other aspect lead.
The knowing self, the true self, become the expression.
Right.
And we're being informed by it.
Right.
So even in a moment, we might withhold an action of judgment or condemnation, because we turn within and say, what's the truth here? And that little voice, that quiet, still voice of perfection and love, just might say, that doesn't matter right now. Let's just be patient. It just gives us little nudges.
Right.
Eventually, we want to be the expression of that voice, but we have to start somewhere, right? We have to get this ego self to allow us to move in that direction over time.
So we begin to quiet that ego voice and let it step back when we notice that we're judging, when we notice that we want to react. We just take that breath and we allow the mind of love, the mind of God, to give us those nudges. And when we listen deeply, we will. And I don't even want to just say listening is an auditory thing, but we have, like, the nudges can be a felt thing. It doesn't always have to be, something you hear. It's like a knowing. Okay,
and we
I
all
can
have
just
this,
pause.
We all have this idea of, because it's an experience we all have, called intuition, right? And everybody has an intuitive self. I don't think anybody would probably argue the point. That's that self.
Right.
It's just nudging you a little bit and saying, it's okay if you don't join the battle.
Yeah.
Right now, if the world's in a conflict, if our world here in the Western culture, here in the United States, because of an election is in conflict, we do not have to join the battle. We can go to the ballot box and we can vote, or we cannot. And we can choose what we want to do and allow whatever's going to happen, because that's really our role here as we move towards a higher state of consciousness, a higher vibration. It is a vibration of allowance and acceptance.
Okay.
And it's a very high call, because it requires us to allow and accept that everybody has a right to be here and they have a right to express as they are, right? But the journey that we're individually on and collectively on is to help each other to awaken, to realize that what we think is so serious is just a dream. And dreams have no effect in the grand scheme of things. That what do they, I'm not going to go back to sleep tonight and try to fix the dream I had last night.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. I don't care about it.
So the first part of the message was that everything is love, or a cry for love, that there are ever only two emotions, love or fear.
Yeah.
And fear produces the cry for love. And then the second part of the message is contained in the concept of what the title of the message is, the message in the mirror. And to me, that part of your message is why we can say we live in a benevolent universe, why we can say that we're continuously in this feedback system that is ever mirroring back to us our own consciousness. And in that, that's not against us, that's actually for us. Is there something that you want to say?
Well, we could say that it's for us, but it's just reflecting, just like the mirror. What it's doing for us is it's showing us who we're being. It's showing us the vibration we're holding, and which is consciousness. What level of consciousness are we holding? And so it is for us, because it's like the mirror's for us. I look in the mirror so I can see what I look like. I can look out into the world to see what I'm thinking like, literally.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It's absolutely a tool. But we mistake it as something that is the cause rather than the effect. You see, we're the cause. The world is the effect. But the world is upside down in its thinking, because it's a false thought system, and it's completely reverse of the laws of God, the truth, if you will. And so it looks like if this person becomes the president, that's going to cause a lot of problems. No, if this person becomes the president, whoever that might be, it's the effect of our consciousness. It's just reflecting what we desire, the balance of consciousness in one direction or another, whatever it might be. And what we don't also realize is a lot of times we're arguing between two things that are illusions. This is an apple here and an orange here. Which one would you like? It doesn't matter. They're both illusory. They're not really real. So most of the time we're arguing about things that are illusory. They're not even real. It doesn't really matter. So the world is a tool, absolutely, and is reflecting our choice.
Well, and I think that a lot of people right now might argue that it does matter. An apple or an orange, this candidate or that candidate does matter. And so I think it's really interesting. Wait a second.
Go ahead.
It's really interesting what you're saying, and I think it really challenges us to to what you said, the teaching is that it's really just reflecting back to us our own consciousness and our own state of mind. Now, if you want to say something more, that's great. I'm not going to cut you off. But what I do want to say in this moment is I do want to invite you to stick around for a conversation, because I think that people will want to have a conversation about this. So please join us here momentarily on our live interactive Zoom. We can't wait to see your face. We can't wait to hear your voice. We want to hear what you have to say about this conversation and what's going on in your life.
And whatever you want to bring to the conversation.
Right. Yeah, it can be. This is just the springboard, but it is an opportunity to bring any questions that you may have. Right. And so we love you. We're so very grateful that you've joined us, and we'll see you in a couple minutes on our Zoom. And if you do not have that link, how you get that link is by joining our email inner circle at our website, truethought.org. And when you do that, you will receive the emails that have the link to this interactive live Zoom. So thank you for joining us. Have a beautiful I don't know what time of day it is. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk with you soon. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.